So I'm here with the one and only Jeremy Rochford, and we just had some laughs. So right now we might have a little bit of the case of the giggles. And
Never a bad thing, man.
never a bad thing. We're having a good time here. So Jeremy Rochford, he has lost 200 pounds, which is absolutely amazing. But not only has he lost 200 pounds, he's kept it off for how long, Jeremy?
It's going on about 14 years. We're still in the 13 and a half-ish, but we're about to cusp it and go to about 14 years.
But you know what? This is focus on the good. Let's go 14
We're
years.
gonna round up.
So, I mean, with 14
It's like
years,
property tax. You always round up.
there you go. That maybe not focusing. Yeah, never mind. But the most impressive thing to me about Jeremy is not just that he lost 200 pounds. Like, I'm not taking anything away from that, but the fact that you've managed to keep that off for 14 years is absolutely incredible. And now Jeremy is an award-winning athlete as well as the author of The Gospel According to Chubby. So, Jeremy, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. I've got a swivel chair. I've got a great friend to talk to. I've got an audience to listen. I'm feeling really great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, that's awesome. So just so everyone knows who's watching and listening on the podcast, so this is actually going in two different places. So this obviously is going to be, this is a part of the podcast if you're watching it there or listening to it there. But also we're recording this interview for a part of the content of a coaching program that I'm doing, Your Number One Goal. So not only do I want you to be able to get the value of what Jeremy has to offer, but I also want you to see kind of a sneak peek into what this program is all about and the kind of things that we do there. So the thing about Jeremy is it's not just about a weight loss goal. This is something that applies to any goal, whatever the goal is. He's reached something that's absolutely incredible. So I wanted you to be able to hear him and learn from him. So Jeremy, how can weight loss, or the goal that you've reached, how can you apply that to another goal? Let's say someone's goal is starting a business or writing a book or whatever it is, climbing that mountain. How do you see crossovers between those two things?
You know, I see many crossovers, and when I mentor people through the weight loss process, the first thing I tell them is, for a few weeks, we're not going to talk about nutrition and we're not going to talk about exercise. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 5 things that I feel have not only allowed me to lose the weight, but keep it off for the past 14 years. Because realistically, most people you talk to have lost weight, but a lot of people have gained it back. So really, when people say they want to lose weight, what they're really saying is they want to lose weight and keep it off. And what I found is there's 5 things that have helped me not only do that, but when applied to other goals has allowed me to reach those as well. So for me, if we're going to kind of break that down.
Yeah, let's do that.
That'd be cool, man. Well, the first thing is time management. You know, when you think of weight loss, time management is probably not the first thing you think of. But when you start breaking down, what's the biggest reason you hear for people who try to lose weight but are often unsuccessful? Well, to me, they'll say, Jeremy, I'd love to lose weight, but I just don't have the time. But what's crazy about that is you have 24 hours. I have 24 hours. It's like Oprah. It's like, you got 24 hours and you get 24 hours and you get 24 hours. And it's like, well, wait a minute. So if the playing field is equal and we all have 24 hours, how are some people dominating with that time and how are some people aren't? Well, in my life, what I had to do was I had to take account of the time. I had to make my time work for me. And when it came to the goal of weight loss, I got so tired of saying, I can't make time and I don't have time. And I started asking, well, where's all this time going? And so in my own life, I did a time audit. I was like, all right, I'm sleeping for 8 hours. I'm working for 8 hours. So I've got 8 hours left. Commuting for maybe an hour, hour and a half, depending on traffic. So I've got about 6.5 hours left. From that, with the family doing X, Y, and Z, and I found that I had about 3 to 4 hours of time margin that at first glance, I'm so busy. But then at second glance, it's like, well, wait a minute. I'm on eBay, I'm on Netflix, I'm on Facebook. I completely had the time, but I wasn't using it for the goal that I wanted. In my world, it was about how do I get 30 minutes of elevated heart rate activity? And then once I got to 30, 45, 50. But you see real quickly how when you have 3 hours, and you know, when I ask my clients, I'm only asking them to give me 30 minutes. It's real hard for them to say, I just don't have the time. And I think that's completely lateral when it comes to goal setting.
Totally.
You know, for me, the next step in my life, in my career, is I want to be a speaker. I want to share my message on stage. I want to hopefully help people with the information I've learned in the past 25 years of failing and then succeeding in weight loss. And it's completely new to me. It's a new venture. And so I have to take the same scenario. All right, how much of my time can I apply to this? It's back to the same formula. All right, sleeping, eating, and I've got this set of time that I can use to go towards my goal. And rather than saying and focusing on the, well, I can't, it's, wow, this is what's possible. How do I maximize this time? So for me, that would be the first thing.
So I want to touch on that a little bit. So the first thing, time management, I think it's really cool that that's the first thing that you focus on, because, with the clients that I have, the people who are part of the program, that the biggest thing that I hear is like the biggest, excuse, whatever you want to call it, thing that's holding people back. That one thing, you got their goal and you go, okay, what's that thing that's holding you back? And almost everyone has something about time, finding the time. I don't have the time, this and that. And so, but you're right. There's always Netflix, there's always eBay, there's Facebook, there's whatever it is that you're doing. So if you can get really honest with yourself, there's going to be some time somewhere where you can use that.
And for me, the overarching scenario of really the 5 things that hopefully I'm going to talk about today is taking out the I can't and showing what is possible. Mm-hmm. And for some, I will be 100% honest. Through the 14 years of keeping the weight off, my life has changed. I went from a college kid to a touring musician, to a married life, to a married, pursuing a career, to married with 1 kid, married with 2 kids. And the margin within that 24 hours definitely looks different now than it did 10 years ago, than it did 15 years ago. But if I'm able to focus on what is possible, I'm breaking down any barriers, and I'm taking the I can'ts and I'm putting it into the realm of I choose to or I choose not to. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people look at that in a negative light, but I look at that in a, wow, if I can control this, if I can control this half hour, if I can control this hour, what else is possible? What else can I control? And for me, that's what makes time management such an amazing tool, is if you can harness it, you can apply it to anything you want to do. For me, it was weight loss. Now it's speaking, how I develop my talents there. I don't know what's going to be after that, but I know that I'm going to be able to use those skills on whatever's next.
Cool. So first is time management. So what's second?
Time management, self-awareness. With weight loss, it's one of the biggest challenges I think most people face. But there comes a time in life where you have to admit to yourself that who you are in your 20s wasn't who you were in your teens. And who you are in your 30s isn't who you were in your 20s. Who you are in your 40s isn't who you were in your 30s, and so on and so forth. One of the biggest challenges with the clients I have with the Nashville Wellness Academy, which is my weight loss mentorship program, is a lot of people have crazy goals that they set based on something that worked 10 or 15 years ago. I will meet wrestlers or football players on the male side who will be like, well, dude, I mean, I used to run 6 miles a day back when I was cutting weight as a wrestler. That should work now. And it's like, you're 35, you have bad knees, you now have compressed arches. You're just going to wreck yourself. Yeah. And then on the ladies' side, I've had clients who are like, if I could just have the body I had when I was in college. And it's like, you're a 40-year-old mom of 4. Mm-hmm. Science. There's something romantic about recreating the past that I feel keeps us burdened in not creating the present. And yes, as you grow up, there are things that you're going to have to give up. But the glory of that is you get things that you never would have had prior. Mm-hmm. And so for me, being self-aware, being able to say, what's the best that I'm capable of this? What's the best version of me at this moment in time? And then how do I attack and get that? I think is one of the most amazing abilities that you can learn, because right now, as I mentioned, I'm 35, and I will say 100%ly, it is much harder to budget time with 2 kids than it was with 1 kid, than it was with no kids. Now, I didn't say it's impossible. I said it's harder. But like with anything else, if you can look at it, acknowledge and admit it's going to be hard, but you don't stop there. Like, yes, it's going to be harder, but that doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means you find what you can do and you thrive within that confines. So for me, the second thing is self-awareness, being, I don't want to say mature enough, but almost saying being mature enough to say, you know what, this is me now. And that's amazing. So based on who I am now, in the circumstance I have now, what can I do now to get the life I want later?
So how can you, I mean, I guess you kind of answer that a little bit, but so you take that in the weight loss world, but let's apply that to any goal. So how do you apply that same kind of thing with the self-awareness of where you're currently at?
Well, I'll stay with on this wanting to be a speaker. I think speaking, and I know you can speak to this because you're a very gifted speaker. Like anything else, well, man, thank you for your talents. But like anything else, it takes practice, right? And so, having lost the weight and now being able to be a runner and lift, and that's all great, but that's 10, 15 years of success. Well, I used to play music, and when you step on stage as a speaker, I'm learning it's an entirely different contrast. So as a musician, your goal is to be on every part of the stage, making sure everyone feels included. As a speaker, it's the exact opposite. You stand and you deliver. And so for me, I've got this body that I've built. I've got this health that I've acquired and I've maintained. I can't stop doing that, but I really feel called to be a speaker. And so I've got to move things around and be aware that, with 2 kids, it's going to be hard. With a family life, it's going to be harder. But what can I do? And so what I've done is I do cardio. I love running because it's one of the rare times you can just take your phone and go, no, just it's me in solidarity. And so what I found, and anyone next to me thinks I'm crazy, I will practice my speaking while running. So cool. Whenever I am at a place where I can stand still, I'm just practicing on the standing still. And even case in point, I was fortunate enough to do a TEDx talk on the topic of weight loss and humor. I will never forget that my 2-year-old, who at the time was just born, he was a crier. He loved to be swaddled. And so we had 15 minutes for the talk, and it took him about 20 minutes to be rocked to sleep. And so as I was rocking with him back and forth, I would whisper my TED talk. And, again, it's all about how, I don't want to say multitasking because that can backfire, but how can you find those moments in time where you can still do what you want to do within the confines of your responsibility? And so for me,
real quick, there's a difference between multitasking and using what Tony Robbins calls net time, no extra time, doing the dishes, going on a run, driving somewhere. That's different from trying to do 2 completely separate things. You're kind of doing a mindless activity.
No, and way to break that down, because I feel you can do 2 things at once. There's his name escapes me, but he calls driving in the car, listening to podcasts, mobile university, because he breaks it down that the average person's commuting as much as a student is in school. And he says if you just commit to listening to podcasts during that time, you will have acquired enough education through the year that you'll be on level with someone who has a bachelor's or a master's. So you're amazing. Right. It's not multitasking. It's dual tasking.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's.
We should coin something.
It's just we can that time. No, yeah, there you go. Bam. So,
do we have to pay Jimmy Fallon for that?
I
feel like we have to pay Jimmy Fallon every time.
Jimmy Fallon and Will Smith. Boom.
Exactly.
That's got to be, that's got to be like $100 right there. Okay, so number 1, time management. Number 2, self-awareness, which seem like those kind of go hand in hand because a lot of the being self-aware has to do with we have different times. There's people, there's someone in the group right now who her struggle is finding, she has responsibilities with one business that's like a family business, and that's where the income's coming from. But her vision for the future is building this different business, and she's trying to find this balance of like, how do I do the both? And I think what you said is right. It's just being self-aware so that you can find that time and say, well, like, this is the time that I have. And I can either complain about it and say, I don't have time, or I can make the best out of the 1 hour a day that I actually have. That sounds like, at least from what I've learned from you, from what I've heard today, but then from other times too, that's kind of the concept of it. So what's the third thing?
Number 3 is accountability. Accountability, and it's twofold. It's external accountability and it's internal accountability. External accountability is we, like it or not, we kind of have that one friend that we always keep around that we'd probably never invite over to dinner, but you really love hanging out with them because they're going to tell you the truth all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the kind of person who, if you ask, like, hey, do these pants make me look fat? They'll be like, no, it's you. It's your fat that makes you look fat. Don't blame it on the pants, son. Like, but we all have that one person in our lives, right? And
it's not the pants.
And so we have that one person in our lives because I think deep down they hold us accountable to the things that we secretly want to be held accountable to. And it's those type of people that we need to externally go to and say, hey, we're friends, we're confidants, we're X, Y, and Z. And maybe you don't have a friend. Like I've been a personal trainer for years, and I've had clients who were in the best shape of their life, and literally the only reason we met every week was because they needed to keep an appointment. Like they knew that they needed that external accountability. But regardless, I feel that external accountability is super important because it holds you to a standard that you want to hold yourself to. Because I think deep down, we don't want to let people down. Mm-hmm. And when we go public with the things we want to do, we now have to answer to those people who we let know. And I think if you take a step further and you find someone that you trust and that you love, either platonically or, spousal or whatever, and you let them speak the truth into you to keep you accountable, I think it's very valuable. But internally, you also have to balance that out with journaling. I'm a huge fan of writing things down.
And isn't that the next actual a part of the 5? Isn't that a?
It isn't. It's lumped into the accountability side of things.
Oh, okay. I had that wrong. Okay.
No worries, man. It's. I will take this as a compliment. I've thrown so much good stuff at you that it's blurred together.
Yeah, I thought. Okay, so accountability and journaling a part of it. So yeah, go.
Yeah, because you've got your external accountability and your internal accountability, and part of writing it down. And I've had pushback because, like, literally, there's an app for everything, right? Mm-hmm. But totally. The challenge is because there is an app for everything, it gets lost amongst the clutter.
Totally. And I could be journaling, and then all of a sudden I get a bling, Facebook notification. I get, and I'm like, what's this?
Yeah, I'm bidding on you can tell I love eBay. It's just,
you say eBay a lot.
I don't know. I love
buying things.
Ricky Henderson rookie cards. That's
great. That's awesome. Hey,
no, but
send them some my way. That guy's amazing.
But the reality is that there's so much going on on the phone. It's hey, it's you gotta hydrate. Like DDP says, you gotta always hydrate.
There you go. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
I'm thankful to be here. Thanks, man. Truthfully, it is a little bit of a burden to write, but that completely shows where your priorities are. Because the reality is, if you're not willing to take the time to physically write down what you're doing, are you really at a place where you're ready to take the next steps? And on the weight loss side of things, I've had so many people who would say, Jeremy, I don't know. This week I felt like I killed it. It was a good week. I just don't know what happened. And then I'd say, well, let's go through your journal. And you open it up and it's like, you ate at Little Caesars 5 times this week. I'm pretty sure we know what happened here. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I can't do that.
No,
you said the journal. You said the journal and I'd be succcessful, right? I just wrote down like, pizza journal.
It's like that one Simpsons where Homer's on a diet, that one episode. And he has a rice cake and he keeps putting everything on the rice cake because he feels that just the rice cake by itself is 50 calories.
Yeah.
And so like by the end, there's like a ham and a turkey and it's just like 50 calories. Yeah. Anyways, if you have to write it down, you're accountable to yourself. And what I've seen in my own life is if I'm having to be accountable to myself and read the words on the page, it's going to make me think twice. And realistically, for many people, taking that split second to think twice gives them the gravity to make the best decision.
Yeah.
So for accountability, external and internal, I think is paramount to not just weight loss, but really any goal.
Absolutely. It's actually, I read a thing saying that it's statistically proven that you will have improvements in whatever you're trying to improve just by journaling, like just by recording it, not even changing, like, well, obviously that changes behavior, but it's not even like having a plan, just starting with journaling and nothing else, just recording what you're doing. Because then all of a sudden you're aware and you're like, whoa, look at this, what I'm doing. And like what you're saying about like every goal, and you like take you as a speaker, you know, it's like you can say like, yes, you know, for people watching, they might think, oh, well, yeah, a speaker, what does that mean? Well, you go on a stage and you speak, but like when it comes down to it, we are marketers and salesmen and run a business and all those kinds of things. So there's all sorts of behind the scenes business sides to get you on those stages. And so if you're saying I'm working really hard at booking gigs and nothing's coming my way, and then you look at your journal and you go, oh, I didn't really log that much time in marketing, not nearly as much as I thought. And so I just think that's great, you know, both sides. And I love how you put that, the external accountability from other people, and then the internal accountability from yourself through the journaling.
This is funny.
Is someone calling you?
No, I've got.
Or you just decided to play music in the middle of our interview.
It's and you and I talked about Fitbit versus Garmin. One of the problems with I am a poster child of having technology too advanced for me to know how to use.
Okay.
Apparently my screen, if you go far enough, will turn on the phone from your iTunes cloud. Oh. So here we are talking. I took a drink of water, put my hand down in a comfortable manner, and somehow that turned on my phone.
All right. Well, sounds good. Okay. So we had 3 things so far. So the first was time management, and then self-awareness, and then accountability, both internal and external. So what's number 4?
4 is knowledge. When you're embarking on something new, there are things you're going to have to learn. One of the biggest pushbacks I get is Jeremy, I don't know how. And a lot of people look at that like a negative. But to me, if I know what I don't know how to do, I've troubleshot what I need to learn how to do. So if I want to go, hypothetically, again, back into exercise side of things, I mean, a lot of people who don't know how to resistance train, and that's fair. I didn't know how to resistance train. And when I say resistance training, think weightlifting. You know, the term resistance training basically is to resist gravity. So, you know, let's say we're doing an overhead press. You can use dumbbells, you can use bands. I mean, you can go crazy and just get 2 milk jugs and be like, I'm just doing it. And so a lot of people don't know how to do it. And that's great. So you now know what you need to learn to do. A lot of people get stuck on the I don't know how, and they stop there. In my life, when I first started my entire weight loss journey, I almost quit the day I started because I walked into a gym. My whole transformation started by going into a gym, because when you're young and you're fat, like that's what you do, right? You join a gym because I didn't know what I was doing. And I walked in and it was already awkward. Like I was already overwhelmed by the scenario. And you just, what blows me away is large people in the gym tend to get looked at, and it's like, why are you here? And it's like, why are you guys here? You guys have won, like all the sexy people there. And I was just feeling all this frustration. And then I finally saw that there was a cardio room, and I was like, I've been walking for most of my life up to that point. I you know what? No, I came to do something good. I decided to get on a treadmill. And in that moment, I understood that there was a whole gym that I didn't know what to do with, but I knew what to do. So I started with what I knew, but I wasn't content there because I knew that I had a whole journey in front of me. So after I was confident with walking and doing the treadmill, I started branching out. I started getting into weightlifting. I started trying to figure out what would work best for me, because with weights, there are many things you can do. But that's the craziest thing. In today's society, there's never been a time where there's been good free information. So if you want to, I am 100% certain that if you are looking to lose weight for lean muscle, if you Google how to lose weight for lean muscle, you will find tons of places to learn. I feel like the barrier of excuses is almost gone with the internet, because
you can't say knowledge. But
from the head to the heart is a long distance.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, knowledge is very much tied to self-awareness, because a lot of people will, again, focus on the I can't. Well, Jeremy, I'd like to go to the gym, but I can't. I don't know what to do. For me, you've just troubleshoot. You've excelled at troubleshooting. You know exactly what you need to do next. You need to learn what to do.
Mm-hmm.
In making the parallel in my life, I wanted to become a speaker. I knew that. But as you've mentioned, I'm not a businessman. I am not good with marketing. I'm not good with
I didn't mention
sales.
that you're not a business. I said there's business
No, but
to it.
you
You made it sound like I just said. You made it sound like, as you said, I'm not a businessman. I'm like, I'm not. Hey guys, I'm not the jerk. I didn't. That's not what I did.
What happened is you're so good at accountability. You're bringing that out of me.
Ah, dang it.
But here's the truth. I'm just trying to be as transparent as possible. I never intended to start anything in terms of a business. All I've ever wanted to do is help people. But the reality that I'm learning is I can help the most people when I'm able to get in front of the most people.
Absolutely.
And the only way to get in front of the most people in such a crowded market, in such a loud market, is to learn what differentiates you from that noisy market.
Yes.
And to look at it with a business mindset, knowing that if you're going to have the most impact for your time here, you've got to do the things that get you in front of the most people. And for me, it's like, does not compute. It can be overwhelming because it's something I never intended to do. But I want to see people experience the same freedom from weight loss that I've experienced. Because here's the reality for me. I am the most average person you've ever met. And it's so cliche, but literally, if I can lose this weight and keep it off, my gosh, anybody can. And once they do it, the freedom that comes, to be able to walk into Target and not ask myself what's going to fit, but be like, what's going to fit? And how's it going? Just that freedom to have no pressure when I go in to try pants on is amazing. And I know so many people who don't have that. And I want them to have it because they deserve that. And the only way that I can get to those people is to get to those people. And so for me, I know that I'm terrible when it comes to business. I know that. But because I know that lets me know where I need to start to learn. Because if I never get good at those things, I'm never going to reach my truest potential if I really want to do this. And I really want to do this.
Yeah. And I think what's cool too is you look back on, you were at that point where you didn't know anything about fitness or nutrition. You knew nothing about it, but you learned it. And because you learned it, now you can say, well, if I was able to do that, then I could learn something else. And, it's been said that confidence comes from competence. And I think that one of the best ways to build confidence is actually to reach a goal, any goal of any size, whatever that goal is. It could be a tiny goal, but just reaching a goal to be able to do something you couldn't do before. Because as you exercise that muscle, even if it's in a different realm now, you can go, well, I did that. I'm not sure what was.
No, I was laughing because of the pun. You're making a great point, but you use exercise to make them like this.
Oh, exercise the muscle. All right.
I've got kids, and they've got this song called "Kindness is a Muscle," and you have to flex it, and that's one of the songs that they sing.
All right, sounds good.
I feel like I've just laughed over a really solid point because it's such a solid point, but it was framed so appropriately topical.
Yeah, it was. So anyway, so you're making this tough, man.
I'm sorry. My hope is I want people to watch my TEDx talk, not for the sake of watching it, but for the sake of them watching to go, that makes sense. That's why it's like that.
No, totally. You definitely should watch that. It's hilarious and it's great. Okay, so now we got the knowledge. So we got, we got the time management, we got the self-aware, we got the accountability. Now we got the knowledge. And so what's that fifth thing? What's the number 5 thing?
Number 5 is the reason, because a lot of what we talked about the first 4 is a lot of planning, a lot of all of the mechanics. But with anything, weight loss, starting a new career, going after your number one goal, it's going to take time. And there are reasons greater than emotion that need to sustain you. And when you fully understand what those reasons are, you will truly be unstoppable. You know, at this point in my life, and this kind of plays into what I talked about with number 4, it is very uncomfortable for me to learn how to look at what I want to do as a business. I am not going to lie to you, but I probably about once a week, I get either an email, some type of correspondence. I've even gotten letters, which is fun, but some type of correspondence about how the gospel according to Chubby has made an impact on their life. And really just the context of that book, thanks. When people hear that I've lost 200 pounds, they normally have 3 questions. How did you do it? Can you help me do it? And how in the world did you get so large that you need to lose that much weight in the first place? And the gospel according to Chubby digs into number 3, because when I was writing that book, I needed people to know that they're not alone, and that I feel that I've got some solid suggestions on how to lose weight. But I needed people who are hearing that to know that I understand where they're coming from. I think because there's a lot of weight loss advice out there, a lot of people unfortunately take bad weight loss advice because they see the body, but they don't really know the person giving it. And so for me, when I wrote Chubby, I wanted people to see my darkest times. I wanted people to see me committing grand larceny for Girl Scout cookies. I wanted people seeing me getting kicked out of a go-kart for being too fat to ride and contemplating suicide. I wanted people to understand how dark it got. So when I say, I understand what you're going through, here's the path out, you understand that I understand. And so, like I said, I'll get notes and letters about how Chubby met someone where they're at, and it has completely inspired them. And it's because the book's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's people I've never met. And I'm sure you've had those experiences when you speak, like people you've never met hear your story, or they resonate with something you say, and you have one of those like Matrix time stands still moments, and you're like, wow. And when you understand that your words have power, and when you understand that possibly your example have power, it's a great responsibility. But also for me, I feel like I've been given a gift to find this path directly out of weight loss, have it deal with the mental, the psychological, and emotional approach. And I want to see people live the life that I'm living now. I mean, just like I said, there's so many things I've been able to accomplish because the weight is off. It's so much freedom. And being on this side now of it, I want people to have that. People deserve that. People can have that. They should have that. And in some slight way, I feel it's my responsibility to show them that path, having gone what I've gone through. And so for me, yes, looking at it like a business is very awkward, but I know that if I don't, then there are people who may not get the help elsewise, because I feel like there's power in story. And I feel like going first and showing my vulnerabilities allow other people who have been as awkward as I am to maybe just glean from that and go, well, you know what? If that dude who looks like Jimmy Neutron can do it, then maybe I can too. And so every time that I don't want to walk into a meeting, or every time I have to learn a skill that's completely out of my comfort zone, I think about the people who have already written me, and I know of all the people who have never heard of me. And I think, how many people can I impact with this? How many people deserve the freedom I have? And I feel it's everyone. And so for me, there's a huge motivator to keep doing and keeping this going. When I was in process for weight loss, it was about being the best husband I could. You know, I have a very lovely wife who we got together on this weird scenario where I'd lost weight and I gained it back. And so I loved her to death, and I wanted to be there for her, and I wanted to have a family with her, and I wanted to be there for my kids. And I feel like it's a very unique scenario, and I wasn't able to put it into words until a couple of days ago, actually, the way I felt in the process. And now that I have 2 kids, I was able to kind of capture it. Because before I had kids, and I've always felt this way, when when you have a kid, you can simultaneously love something and be so angry at it at the same time. You just, and you have a kid now too, right? And so I'm sure that there's times where you're like, I've not slept in 48 hours. I could literally, oh, you're cute, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I feel with that mentality with your body, you've got to love who you are. Your body's a gift. Your health is a gift.
Real quick, I just have to do this.
Yeah.
You talk about how cute. I mean, look at that.
Right?
Look at that.
Are we gonna we're gonna turn this into no, we won't. No, we won't.
Officially dads.
If you go to jeremyrochford.com, you can go on the face space or the Instagram or the Twitters, and you can see cute. You can find all those cute kid photos.
Yeah.
But I feel like the mentality of loving yourself, but also not being content with who you are, is very sustaining. And it all, coming full circle, comes back to the reason. Because the most challenging thing I have found with weight loss goals, maybe we should say earmuffs, but like it's the naked test. Like sometimes you'll be buck naked and you'll be in front of the mirror at your worst and you'll be like, man, look how good I look. And then there's times where you'll be the most successful and you'll be in the front of the mirror naked and you'll be like, I am the fattest thing ever. And the problem is when you chase these emotions, you're chasing a phantom. But when you have solid foundational reasons for doing what you want to do, I mean, it makes you unstoppable. And so for me, yes, looking at this as a business is awkward, but knowing that I've had an impact and I'm so humble for that, but also knowing that there's millions of people who've never heard of me who could have the same type of experience I could have if I could somehow let them know the easiest path to it, it fuels me. And also, and one of the smartest things I've ever heard from a friend of mine, as I had just become a parent, she said, one of the greatest disservices you can do to your children is teach them to pursue your dreams when you sacrificed yours.
That's brilliant.
And I was like, what? And she's like, well, you have dreams. What better way to encourage your children or those who are paying attention to you to pursue their dreams than for them to actually see you pursuing your dreams?
Yeah.
And that's resonated with me. And so for me, those are some of the most paramount reasons for not only keeping the weight off, losing the weight in the process, but now in terms of this next step, staying motivated when the times get hard. I mean, like you said, it's metrics sometimes. You're going to call a lot of people and you're going to hear a lot of no's. You're going to sweat a lot and sometimes you're not going to see the scale move, but there's still progress as long as you're doing the right thing every day.
Yeah. Well, and I just got to say that what you're doing and your message, and I think everyone who's got to this point, whether they're listening or watching, if they've got to this point in this, they know that what you have is valuable and worth it and important. And so I just want to recognize you for that what you're doing, what you're saying, this really matters. And it's not just like, look, there's so many people who are dealing with their health and their fitness, and they need to hear that. And I know that you've helped me along my path, but then there's just so many people just don't believe that they can. And when you see someone who's lost 200 pounds, I mean, that's double what you are now. And to see, that you have been able to accomplish that, I mean, it's just incredible. And I think that I just want to recognize you for that, because I think it's important that you know that.
Thank you. Thanks.
You don't do so well with compliments, huh?
Well, the problem with the internet is like I feel like we should hug, but I can't hug you. Like it's just.
There's my hug. It's just gonna get really awkward. I hugged everyone else watching.
That's how my son hugs. He just goes all in, like it's a slow creep. And he just boops you, and
like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like this is something Conan O'Brien would do. Like when he does the rowing.
Red hair.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I've got a chair.
Okay. Before we digress too much.
I'm on my cord. Hold on.
What's going on here?
I wheeled over my cord.
Who runs this show?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so real quick on a series.
The TED Talk is called "Laughing My Pants Off." You've got to check it out. This will all make sense. I promise you.
You do. Everyone should check that out. In fact, where can people see that TED Talk? Where can people get your book? And where can people connect with you?
Well, JeremyRochford.com is the easiest way. You can Google Jeremy Rochford.
Well, I'll put a link here.
Okay, well, that's cool. They can just follow the link right there. Through the magic of internet technology.
Yes.
Jeremy Rochford. And then we can connect from there. I'd love to connect. Say hi. Say this was ridiculous. Say you enjoyed it. Say that you didn't mind the red hair. I dig it. But the TED Talk, TEDx, Jeremy Rochford, laughing my pants off. It was a good time.
It was.
It will make all of this make sense. You'll watch this and you'll be like, oh, that makes so much more sense now.
No, I think everyone should watch that. But I do want to ask, in closing, what's the last thoughts that you want to share with anyone who's trying to reach a goal of any size, whatever that goal is, if it's something huge, or if it's something small? What's your last thoughts that you want to share with someone trying to do that?
This is going to sound very weird, and it's a very abstract thought, but it has something that has always propelled me. Growing up, I became a Blink-182 fan. And
nice.
If you've ever heard anything before their major album, Dude Ranch, you realize very quickly that Tom could not sing. But it didn't stop him. And at about the fourth album, with all the small things, it clicked. And he worked, he ignored the people who said, you can't do that, because he knew that he could do it. And then when they finally got to that album that he realized, oh, I could do it, and he put it all together, the rest is history. And so for me, I always look at Tom from Blink-182. I'm like, there's a guy who really couldn't do it, but he believed he could, and he eventually did. And so if there's one last thought that I've learned in my own life, and also just from observing other people, it's you might not be able to do it now in terms of the whole scope, but you can do something. And after a while, a little something adds up to a lot of something. And that's the most important thing, is to do something better today than you did yesterday. And if you do that, success will come, and you will have the esteem of knowing that you're better today than you were yesterday. Because really, at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for progress. Yes, we want success. Yes, we want to achieve the goals. But I would say most of us would really be satisfied with progress, knowing that a lot of progress leads to a lot of success.
I love it. Jeremy, thank you so much for being a part of this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I think we should end with a internet high five. So like a virtual high five, and we're gonna end it right at this. It's gonna like freeze frame like a 90s TV show, like Saved by the Bell. So what we gotta do is like right here.
Are we gonna synchronize swatches?
Yeah. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right, dude. Thanks, man. That was fun.